T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Hey, welcome back. Good to see you. We're back and better than ever. We've got some topics. It's a potpourri version of sports and other stuff. Kentucky has a new coach. He's former Wildcat captain Mark Pope. Caitlin Clark becomes the #1 pick and big ticket seller for the WNBA. O.J. Simpson is dead at age 76. And the NFL draft is next week, April 25th. So, Lugs, let's start out with new coach Mark Pope of the Kentucky Wildcats. Your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting to see them sort of mimic U of L and bring home a favorite son. I hope it works for them.
What do you think,
What do you
T-Dog?
think?
I think with Mark Pope, I think it was a good hire. We never know if these things are going to work out. I mean, again, no one knew Hurley was going to win back-to-back titles and probably maybe set up a prolonged dynasty at UConn. So they play an exciting play style of play. Pope did at BYU, and he should get better recruits with the Kentucky nameplate, so it should work out, I think. But like I said, we never know on these things.
Yeah, my favorite part was the whole John Calipari, I'm out of here. Our friends at WKYT Channel 27 caught him walking down the sidewalk with his doggy stroller empty, but his dog was behind him, and they interrupt him and say, "Coach, what do you have to say?" He says, nothing, I'm good. I'm just walking my dog here. My dog's name is Paul. I don't know anybody. You guys know anybody who has a dog named after like a person's name?
Well, I have friends who have a dog named Suzanne. So but it's that's Calipari.
Paul.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
But in the end, both schools, U of L and UK, have gotten some people that have gotten their fan bases excited about playing. Calipari he had done his time with Big Blue Nation. He was done playing PR. I mean, he always sent out his assistant coaches. He didn't really talk. So he was done. He and Mitch Barnhart, that was a marriage on the rocks. It was, I guess it was like Clint Eastwood, that movie, Play Misty for me. It was like, play bye-bye for me. So he's gone.
What do you think, T-Dog? Calipari. Sorry.
I mean, he tried to get out last year, so and now he gets to go to Arkansas, and he's got a slush fund to do whatever he wants to do with it. And he gets to get away from just a state that lives and breathes college basketball. I think he could say he wants to do it at the nth degree. He did it at the nth degree at Kentucky. You're not going to find probably a more rabid fan base. So he couldn't. He just got done, I think, having to deal with it. So
Plus, he's got Walmart, Jerry Jones, and Tyson Chicken money right there for him. That's good. In a place he can hide out in, Arkansas.
yeah,
So will his players that on the Kentucky roster, are they going to leave and go to Arkansas? I haven't been to, is it Fayetteville?
Fayetteville,
where
yeah.
the university is.
Yep.
I haven't been there, but I got to say, Lexington has to be better than Fayetteville. It just does. But anyhow.
Send all your letters to Lugs. The address will be on the end of this podcast. Your hate mail about Fayetteville. All right, let's move on to the second topic. We've got about a little over 20 minutes left in the program. Caitlin Clark is the number one pick in the WNBA. Fellas, can she do to the WNBA what she did for this past year in college basketball? Lugs.
Well, they're hoping so. I mean, they've sold out for the first time. 36 of their home games have sold out for the Indianapolis Fever. So she's already put people in the seats. Now, if she can get eyeballs on screens, then that will be that. She'll make some money with commercials because I saw her on Saturday Night Live, and she was pretty funny jumping into Michael Che. So, what do you think, Dog?
Yeah, again, she'll make her money, and again, I think the WNBA ratings and money generated is on the rise. But the ticket prices are different. Like the average ticket price for an NBA game is $94. WNBA is $47. And here's the average attendance for games: 17,184 versus 5,679. So just based on attendance, not even on the TV contract, that's a huge disparity. That's why Wembanyama makes a lot more, and also just a lot of the top stars in the NBA now. Wembanyama, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like it's an international game where I'm not saying the WNBA doesn't have some international players, but probably the NBA is probably the biggest international sport that is probably consumed. Maybe I'm probably wrong on that. Probably Premier Soccer, but the NBA is up there.
Absolutely.
It's probably so. That's the reason why.
Especially in places
and
like
again,
China.
like we talked about a while ago, Brittany Griner. Yeah, Brittany Griner, she was essentially a political prisoner because she was playing basketball overseas because in Russia they pay women to play basketball more than they do in the WNBA. And that's why these WNBA players have to kind of venture around the globe to try to just make a living just purely as a basketball player.
Yep.
Well, and I think they look at the fact that Caitlin Clark, if you noticed after all of those games, she would stay around and sign autographs for all those little girls. They're building their audience.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Her audience started with her as babies, and they've grown with her.
And I think it will get bigger, but here's, I guess, the last big bullet point to put in terms of revenue. WNBA revenue for the year is $60 million. NBA is $10 billion.
Wow. That's a footnote. That's an exclamation mark. Wow.
Yeah. It's a pretty wide disparity.
Well,
so
who knows?
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to a third topic. O.J. Simpson is dead at age 86. Controversial figure. You can't take away his football accomplishments. Lugs, where were you during the white Bronco chase that was seen nationwide, if not worldwide, on network TV?
A friend and I were at the Blue Diamond Tavern shooting pool and looked up and saw that Bronco. And I said, dude, that's OJ. And all those cop cars, it was like 50 cop cars just slowly following him along. By the way, that Bronco is up for sale if you have any. They're wanting $1.5 million. So
that was actually Al Cowling's car, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. It's owned now by OJ's former agent and a couple of other guys. It had been in Tennessee in Gatlinburg at a museum there.
T-Dog, do you have recollection of that? 1990.
Yeah. What was it? The summer?
Yeah.
Right? It was in the summer.
Yeah.
I was
during the NBA Finals. In fact, the ABC or whatever network interrupted the game and did a box shot of the Bronco during the game.
It was Houston Rockets versus
Knicks,
the
wasn't it?
Knicks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Playoff game.
I remember. I was my parents were getting ready to move to the house that they currently live in. I remember watching it on I think a like a 10-inch TV.
Whoa, you were big.
Yeah.
You're big time in there, man. Woo.
Yeah,
Woo.
a 10-inch TV and just listening to, I believe it was Peter Jennings
Yep.
talk about like this, and it was hard to kind of look away. I mean, I don't know if we, clearly in how dispersed out our media has gotten. Not to say there aren't big events that still people like sit down and watch, but it was one of those that, and before that, a few years before that was the LA riots, but like there aren't a lot of touchstones after OJ where everyone watched.
I read, I want to say that 115 million people watched a part of that. All right, do some math on that versus we were talking about ratings and numbers for the women's NCAA tournament. That was 18 million that watched the NCAA championship for women. 115 million watched OJ's slow chase across the freeways of Los Angeles. So, all right, but before all that, he was quite a football player, and he was everything the NFL wanted to be at that point, and probably put the NFL a lot on the map, don't you think?
Yeah, he was very well spoken. Did some acting. Had a movie career, and he was, I think, the first 2,000-yard running back.
Yes,
you're right. In a 14-game season, too, worth noting.
Yeah. He was pretty amazing. I will always remember him running through the airport. That commercial for, I guess it was Samsonite luggage. I'm not sure. I don't remember that, but I remember.
As Hertz, right?
Hertz rental cars. Yep.
Hertz.
See? Yeah. Okay. Good. Yep. I remember that too.
So.
Yeah.
Godspeed, OJ, man. The juice. If you ever, the one really strange was that show Juiced. I tried to watch one time, and it was just bad. It was bad. The only moment it was is when, because OJ would be walking amongst all these people, and they wouldn't know who he was anyway. And then this was post-prison the second time. So.
Yeah, how he tumbled, there's that whole dark side, and we don't need to get into all that, but whether he did it or didn't, or guilty or not, and then he stole his memorabilia, then he served time, then he got, it goes on, and just like now you don't even want to think a whole lot about him.
Yeah, it was a different time for the OJ. So.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about, we have the NFL draft starting April 25th, Thursday night on multiple networks. T-Dog, you got to be excited about this. It's the time of year we all kind of look forward to. It's like Christmas in July, but it's April.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. It's a very odd draft because it's very offensive. At least the first round sounds like it's going to be predominantly offense. It sounds like maybe there's 5 or 6 kind of defensive standouts, but the other 26 picks sound like they're going to be almost offensive. It sounds like there's possibly going to be 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round.
Yep.
Probably like 6 wide receivers. In terms of tackles, possibly 10. I mean, some of them will play guard. One tight end, one. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and also it just feels like with the Vikings, there's gonna be a trade up.
Mm-hmm.
Broncos are like probably the most bizarre one. Where do they start with Jarrett Stidham? I mean, they don't really have the draft capital to move up and try to get a JJ McCarthy, or do they really like Bo Nix? And it's not that I don't think Bo Nix can be a good quarterback, but do you want to take Bo Nix with the 12th overall pick, or do you trade down and then take Bo Nix at a lower spot in the first round, or do you think you can get him in the second round? I mean, I don't know.
Woohoo! Only the time will tell, my friend.
And then you have the Raiders, who like they might want to get a quarterback because currently their starter is Gardner Minshew. But again, it's going to be probably only Bo Nix and Mike Penix available. I don't know. Maybe they have a diamond in the rough outside of those top 6 that we're not really talking about. But I don't know. What do you think, Lugs?
It's interesting depending on where you look, of course. I've seen where Penix is going to the Raiders. I've seen where it was a possibility that Seattle wanted him. I've seen J.J. McCarthy listed at New England, then at Denver, then also at Minnesota. So it's just one of those, like you said, it's an offensive players draft, really. Defensive guys are way down in the third round, bottom of the second round. So I think the one thing I would almost bet on is Joe Alt going to Tennessee because they're going to need to protect Levis. So I would almost bet that Tennessee stays right there. They don't do any trading around. So.
Yeah, I don't know which one it'll be, but it feels like they definitely should go offensive lineman. Maybe they throw us completely for a loop. And the only other team where you feel right outside the top two are going to take quarterbacks, and we think we know who the Bears. I mean, we know who the Bears are going to take. I still don't know who the Commanders are going to take.
Yep.
And the other kind of piece of intrigue to me is Vikings wouldn't make the trades they did if they didn't have something, I think, put in place in terms of, if this happens, we're going to trade with this team. Who is the team they're trading with? Is it the Patriots or is it the Cardinals? It almost has to be the Patriots, right? Because they have to really like Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, or Jaden Daniels. They have to like, for them to do that trade, they have to like two of the quarterbacks that they think will be in that slot. They can't just like one.
I think prediction for me, J.J. McCarthy's Viking man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I'm thinking. Just the way that it lines up. And I think they like that. Just a little bit I've read about O'Connell and his offense and what he wants to do.
Okay. Do you think that you do a cosign on that, Lugs?
I think that's possible. Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to the Commanders.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I would almost bet. Out of all those guys, I like Penix. I just do. I realize he has these injury issues, but I think he can land somewhere, and because he's bright, he throws accurately. I mean, amazingly so. So I like Penix. But if he ends up in Oakland, or not Oakland, Las Vegas, that's fine. I would hope that he would go to Seattle, as I've said before. So it's an interesting draft, and we haven't even talked about Marvin Harrison or any of those guys. There's some really good receivers in this draft.
It is a receivers draft. I agree. Yep.
So where do you think Marvin Harrison goes? Ooh. And is he the first receiver taken?
I would almost bet you. And I would hope that he would go to a decent team. I'm afraid he's going to end up with New York, just the way it's going to shake out. And I do think New York is going to take a quarterback. That's the Giants. The Jets, I think they'll end up getting Brock Bauer.
I'm not saying you're not right. I think the Jets are foolhardy if they don't take an offensive lineman, because I know they brought in free agents for their tackles, but they're both in their 30s and injury prone. It's just like, let's not go for the shiny toy. Let's go for the solid foundation. And I know Aaron Rodgers is, you're trying to go all in. You can't bet on both those guys staying healthy. So it's just an insurance policy. So an insurance policy they didn't have on quarterback last year when Aaron Rodgers got injured.
Amen.
It was Zach Wilson, who they brought in Aaron Rodgers because Zach Wilson wasn't fit to be. That's why Joe Douglas, I mean, he should thank his lucky stars he even got another year to be a GM, because that was a complete foobar on his point, in my opinion.
Well, I think that they're looking. This may be Rodgers' year, so they're just going to go for a receiver, maybe. I don't know.
And then Robert Saleh gets fired.
Those guys are unpredictable.
Saleh gets fired, and Rodgers becomes head coach, right? That's what's going to happen?
Yeah. See, this is the thing that's messed up. I don't even know if Saleh is a bad coach or a good coach. I mean, their defense is good, and that's his side of the ball. But again, as a head coach, you have to hire a half decent offensive coordinator, and obviously he has not done that in his tenure, and that's why he probably is not a good head coach. Also, I just want to say for Jayden Daniels, if he gets taken by the Commanders or whoever gets taken by the Commanders quarterback, I'm going to pray for them. Because, again, I'll go back to when we started this thing. Cliff Kingsbury is going to ruin whoever is drafted there. I just think he doesn't know what he's doing. And, Quinn is not going to – he's going to leave him alone. So there's not even someone to kind of, like, oversee his homework. So I just – and you look at Washington's offensive line – and, they have some good receivers, so at least whoever goes there has that. But I just worry for them. And again, like we always talk about, like, situations. Like, someone's going to be, like, 5 years down the road is like, Daniels or McCarthy or, May. Like, he was bad. He was such a piece of trash. No, went to a situation where a guy who somehow always – gets these cushy jobs when he was never a good coach in college, was not a good coach in the NFL, did a poor job last year with USC, but still gets these jobs. So congratulations to Cliff Kingsbury, one of the greatest snake oil salesmen we've had.
But remember, during COVID and the COVID draft, you loved his football ranch out there in the desert. Remember that thing? It was like wall to wall, man. It was like uptown.
You gotta respect the drifting game. Man knows how to drift. So congratulations to that man.
Hey, we only have a couple minutes left. Lugs, we don't have time for sports of yesteryear, but give us one nugget from sports of yesteryear that we'll appreciate. Do you have one handy?
1987, Michael Jordan becomes the second NBA player in history to score 3,000 points in a season. The other was Will Chamberlain, of course, who 100-point games, you can pile them up pretty quick. So,
all right, MJ and Wilt. That's your mini edition of Sports of Yesteryear. Hey, we're going to wrap up this edition of Sports and Other Stuff. Brought to you in part by Austin Chiropractic. Reminding you of the 5 most dangerous words. Maybe it will go away. There's a guy we know. He's working there right now. I forgot his name. His name is
Fish. This week in 1964, the Rolling Stones released their debut album titled appropriately The Rolling Stones. The eponymous record featured singles Not Fade Away and Tell Me, topping the UK charts for 12 weeks. Admission is $20 and you'll get one chance to win an original vinyl copy of the UK disc signed by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, valued at $10,000. Count them, $10,000. Come on down at 1 p.m. Saturday and get your satisfaction.
Satisfaction guaranteed. Thanks for listening to Sports and Other Stuff. So long for now.